Pod Save the World is sponsored by the Climate One. It's been a long time. Today, we've got a great show. We have a Nobel Peace Prize winner on the show. Somehow we booked a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Second time.
That's unbelievable. Who's the first? Oh, Obama.
Come on, man.
Yeah, Bill, this one's warranted. This one's deserved.
Yeah.
Maria Ressa is our guest today. She's the founder of Rappler. It's a digital media company in the Philippines. They've been doing incredible work about President Rodrigo Duterte. We've talked about them before. They've been working under great duress, threats from him. They're trying to arrest them, literally, put them in prison. So incredible interview. She's an incredible person. Ben and I are going to talk about the murder of a British member of parliament, Colin Powell's death and legacy, some missile news, Ben. Missiles are having a moment this week. Some bummer news on climate change, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you, John Mitchin.
The fight against Viktor Orban in Hungary.
Let's do it.
We're going back up the roller coaster of emotion here.
Go.
Kidnapping in Haiti down, Sudan down, Brazil medium. We got the Queen.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to put on your royal correspondent hat if you don't mind.
I'm ready for this one.
Why Ted Cruz still sucks is what I wrote down. And then Wizards. I went deep on the Wizard story.
The Wizard is, I actually didn't read on this because I wanted to be surprised by it. When I saw that item, I was like, I want to learn about this when you do it.
You're gonna like this story. Ben.
Like an embargoed press call.
God, yeah.
So it's like, hey, this is embargoed. That means you can't report on it until Jason is wheels up, and laid it all out.
This report in Vanity Fair said that the Queen of England has been advised to give up her evening martini as she prepares for her busy fall schedule. She reportedly enjoys a drink most evenings. Her go-to is a dry martini. At dinner, she likes sweet wine. The piece quotes her late cousin saying that the Queen had been known to drink a glass of champagne before bed. Apparently, it was once reported that she drank 4 alcoholic beverages per day. Here's my question, Ben. Did you know that the Queen went this hard? Yeah. There's no way I could drink 4 drinks a day, and I'm not 95.
Completely aware that the Queen went this hard. And actually, Obama used to say, like, the lunches with them, like, he went up to lunch with them at one of their, I think it was at Windsor Palace. And like Philip's just crushing beers at the lunch, like they're fun people to hang out with. I hate this. I'm totally against this. If it's worked for the woman for 90 plus fucking years, including like however many is Queen, like why mess with it now? Like a dry martini feels like what the Queen should be having every afternoon. I'm not a doctor, but watching this from afar, it seems like that's worked for her.
Like, most people don't live to 95, so she's already kind of ahead of the game. That's what I'm saying.
It's like gravy. She's been playing with house money for a while. Like, give the woman her corgis and her martinis and her movies, as we talked about.
Do you think that if you're slamming drinks with the Queen at Buckingham Palace, that they just like run down to the basement and dust off like a 1962 like Chateau Neuf de Pape de Rothschild, some other fancy thing?
So that's why Obama told me the story, because he was so impressed that Phillips is like, I'm just gonna crack a beer.
It's just like,
shotgun it. These guys could have the Chateau de Pape,
Yeah.
And instead he's like, just like pop top, or like
Really?
I think they had like sherry too, which is so British. Like who drinks sherry?
Like sherry.
But yeah, the Queen should be able to have her martini. Come on.
Yeah, look, if you're listening, Your Majesty.
I mean, she could shift to edibles. I mean, that's another way to go.
I just love the idea of like a little glass of champagne before bed. Like your little nightcap, slamming it in bed. I'm into it. The other thing we try to do here, besides keep a tab on the royals, is keep tabs.
One other thing on this,
please.
By the way, royal correspondent, the Queen mum, right? The Queen's mother.
Okay.
Played ably by Helena Bonham Carter in the movie The King's Speech. She used to drink and people can at me if I'm wrong, but like I think she drank like a bottle of gin a day, like no fucking around. Yeah, and she lived to be like 100, right? So these people they've got like the genes for this stuff.
Yeah, and we know that those gene pools don't mix very often.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe there's something to that. Yeah,
something to that. Yeah. Okay. So again, like the other person we keep tabs on here is Ted Cruz, because there's just so many people who hate him in America and around the world. He's talking to far-right nationalists in Spain. This week, he has pissed off the good people of Australia. So here's the backstory, Ben. Cruz went on Twitter to declare that Australia's Northern Territory, that their COVID vaccine mandate was tyranny and disgraceful and sad. Those are the words he used. The region's chief minister, a guy named Michael Gunner, responded with a barrage of statistics about how much better his territory has fared from COVID than Texas. The one stat that tells the entire story is 70,000 COVID deaths in Texas, 0 in the Northern Territory. There you go. Gunner said, quote, "We don't need your lectures. Thanks, mate. You know nothing about us. And if you stand against a life-saving vaccine, then you sure as hell don't stand with Australia. I love Texas. Go Longhorns. But when it comes to COVID, I'm glad we are nothing like you." So Ben, it's been a tough couple of years. I think I've never felt quite as isolated as I do from the rest of the world, but it's just so nice to know that Ted Cruz can bring us together to call him a douchebag.
Yeah, that was my reaction. I mean, and Gunnar points out, by the way, that their kids are in school, like they're returning.
They had one lockdown for 18 days.
They're not locking down because they've fucking handled their business, unlike Ted Cruz in Texas. It's a tough time that we live through, and a lot of the political news can be upsetting every day. It can be difficult to open Twitter. You look around the world and there's so much division and divisiveness. There's like a new Cold War brewing with China. And the fact that there's this thing where billions of people around the world want Ted Cruz to go fuck off, it's a hopeful thing.
Yeah.
It's really something that makes me feel...
Gives me strength.
Makes me feel seen and present as a human. It makes me feel dignity.
Yeah.
So every time someone around the world is able to throw a ferocious dunk on Ted Cruz, I just feel a little less alone. And I like that we always seem to be circling back to Australia when there's something like this. Just every now and then they pop up,
they call
take
it
a massive whack, call like it is, including to their climate denying prime minister. And it's good to know that we got Aussies out there like that.
Love the Aussies.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy those nuclear subs. You guys earned them.
Yeah. Well, the French got Steve Clements, Légion d'honneur, so even trade, right?
Wait. Okay, last story is out of New Zealand, their neighbor, the Aussies' neighbor. So this is a little bit of sad news, Ben. The official wizard of Christchurch, New Zealand, was fired. He's let go.
Wait, stop. I got a question already.
Yeah.
There's an official wizard?
Official wizard of Christchurch, New Zealand. He was on the job for 23 years. This is according to a New Zealand-based news outlet called Stuff. It's like stuff.co.nz.
Yeah.
So this guy's name is Jack Backenbury. His contract called for him to, quote, provide acts of wizardry and other wizard-like services as part of promotional work for the city of Christchurch. Wizard Jack had been making a cool $16,000 a year, which is my sources told me that's a pretty good rate in the wizarding community.
Yeah.
Fired or not, Jack says he's going to keep showing up at the Christchurch Arts Center and talking with tourists. He's sort of a tourist attraction. He said, quote, "They will have to kill me to stop me. I don't like being canceled."
Why'd they shit can the wizard?
I think that maybe just didn't seem like the path they wanted to go tourism wise. So he's sort of an interesting duck. According to another article in Stuff from 2013, this guy first showed up in Christchurch, and he thinks of himself as living performance art. And so this in the mid 70s, he first got attention because
he go to wizard school though, like Harry Potter, or
unclear what his pedigree is. Yeah. But he in the mid 70s, he publicly cast a spell to, quote, bind the bowels of an officious assistant town clerk.
Well,
and the guy had to do a news conference to clarify that things were just kind of moving okay, that he wasn't bottled up.
We could kind of merge these stories because casting a spell on Ted Cruz that would lead him to not be able to have a bowel movement could be an interesting.
He's already given off real constipated vibes.
Yeah.
Apparently, another city council member had to publicly testify that his head had not shrunk after the wizard announced a spell to shrink it. He used to do big public debates with someone just referred to as the Bible lady. He refused to get a driver's license, passport, or social security number. The wizard wrote a manifesto called Mein Kopf.
All right, but now the wizard's getting a little problematic.
That's why I went to the wizard's website. Yeah. This is it here.
He's like a MAGA wizard?
No, it's he's just a fucking weirdo. He's got a bunch of podcasts.
All right, so people can't see, but the website has like that kind of scroll color to it, like a yellowish tint with like the wizardish handwriting and a very good beard.
Yeah, and you
all required for wizards.
So if you want to listen to his podcast, you have to click on some like weird Dropbox, and I wasn't down with that.
No. Like don't give the wizard an entry point.
He's got some Pegasus vibes.
Suddenly you won't be able to have a bowel movement.
Wizard, if you're listening, it would be. Could you do a spell on Ted Cruz?
We could solve a lot of problems with a good wizard here. I'm just saying. So if he has the goods and he's out of work, there's plenty of spells that we could use over here. I mean, I will say, I want to spend more time in New Zealand.
I've never been.
I was there once, and it is the kind of place where you might come upon a wizard. You know, like you're like rolling green hills and like ancient landscapes and kiwis. Like at night, we went out and found those kiwi birds and stuff. Like, I mean, they should own it. They should just kind of go with the wizard.
Don't they film all those like elfin movies there, the Lord of the Rings?
Although
and
Peter
stuff?
Jackson, like
Jackson.
So Peter Jackson is a Kiwi, and like he built like all the sets were on like his land. Like he owns like this land, I think, where they made all the Lord of the Rings movies. So there's a lot of wizardry, that's taken place on those shores.
I wondered if they were tied together, this wizard and those movies, but it sounds like he just came out of some sort of like countercultural revolution in the 60s in Australia.
So there was like weird stuff going on in the 60s here in Australia and New Zealand, like golly knows. There is a huge tourism, like there was a Lord of the Rings kind of tourism boom.
Oh, I can see that.
When I was there, I was at this dinner with Peter Jackson, and he was talking like I think you could go and see like where some of the movies were and like pilgrimages were made. I mean, these were like, I liked those movies, but I kind of saw them once and didn't think about them again.
They're on cable, and you're like, I'll watch 20 minutes of this.
They're like deeply important to some people. You know?
Yeah.
So I'd say own it. Just stick with the wizard thing. You know, maybe make another Lord of the Rings movie. Maybe you need another trilogy to bring it back. You know.
Yeah, or just switch him into the Harry Potter mode. You know, make him the new some sort of Muggle hating bad guy. I went to Harry Potter World once with Hannah, my wife, and two friends, and it took like hours to get there. The lines were just ungodly awful. There's one cool ride. We went on it. Everyone but me got super seasick from all the motion, and then we had to leave. And then we forgot where we parked our car. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that people can be condescending about this, right? When you'd see the people at like the Harry Potter movie openings, and they're like wearing like hats and face paint and shit.
I read all those books. They're great.
But here's the thing about it: like if you think of the more commonly accepted forms of behavior, what's weirder, right? Going to like a movie dressed as like a character in the movie, or like what you and I did in college, going to a parking lot, like shotgunning like 17 beers, vomiting on yourself, and then watching a college football game. I mean, hey, man, like it's
different,
all
again, different strokes.
Like people can do whatever the fuck they want.
Totally.
And so if this guy wants to be a wizard, like why not?
I thought you were going to say what's weirder, going to like Harry Potter World and dressing up like a wizard, or like going to an Obama or a Trump rally and getting there 5 hours early and standing in the freezing cold to hear a political speech. To me, that's kind of crazy.
What's crazier is like I know you've had to do this too. I did it once. The Politicon thing.
Awful.
That's weird.
I've never felt worse about myself.
People were like freaking out because they saw like some pundit, like some asshole like us, like, oh my God, over there, look, it's Howard Feynman.
I was in a green room and Tommy Lahren walked in with a camera crew following her, and I was like, I fucking hate myself for being here. I can't do this. I can't do this. With Maria Ressa, who is the recent recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. No big deal. Stick around for that.